Well, Dr. Emmanuel Onah joins us to look at, the season of politics, developments in that particular, polity. He is a political scientist and he joins us now live. Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm sure you've been following it and, all through the weekend, it's been a beehive of activities for politicians, and yesterday we have seen the upset new faces coming into the fray. Some others having parallel convention, especially in Enugu State, and for the newcomers and for those also complaining, and even some of the ministers of former ministers of President Jonathan who left to go into politics. Maku lost, Wogu lost, Chuku also lost in Ebonyi State, and of course Wike emerged. What does this mean to you as a political scientist?
Yeah, I think the times are interesting, very interesting. It's democracy, democracy in practice. I know that the PDP primaries will not be as smooth as we expected initially, because in many of the states we are talking about, the possibility of victory is high, and so the competition was going to be as stiff as result.
But then we will say that this might not be unconnected with the fact that a lot of second-term governors are rounding off their tenures, and they would want to put in their godsons or successors.
Yeah.
What are the chances of the other political parties in the states where the governors have finished their second tenures?
Yeah, of course. What we are seeing will rub off on the main elections between the parties. There is the parties in government now, where some of the governors are trying to put in their successors, and the opposition parties. In cases where some of these governors are trying to impose unpopular candidates, of course, it will be an advantage to the opposition party,
So anyway, I think, comments have, is rife. A lot of issues from the camp of the PDP, those who have lost are complaining, and even the national leadership of some other political parties, like the APC, they've also been speaking. I'm quite sure you saw the talk about some aspirants signing a bond. Just in case you missed that, we can call on one of our producers to give us this, where Lai Mohammed, the spokesperson for the All Progressives Congress, did say something in that regard.
Our party is set to ensure this change by presenting for election credible and purpose-driven candidates that will drive the change at various levels of government. The national convention of the party is scheduled to hold at the Testing Balogun Stadium, Surulere, Lagos, February between December 10 and 11, 2014. No fewer than 8,000 delegates drawn from 36 states and Federal Capital Territory are expected to participate in the convention and the presidential primaries that would elect the party's flag bearer out of the 5 presidential aspirants of the party we have today. We secured the undertaking of all our aspirants to accept the outcome of the result and not just support whoever emerges among them, but also that none of them will, on account of losing out at the primaries, will leave our party. I think this is unique. It's not been done anywhere. It's not been recorded anywhere in Nigeria.
So what do you think about that?
Well, I think that is the party's attempt to ensure some unity as they move into the elections, But it is a duty on those who have signed an agreement to abide by it. But every duty comes with an obligation, and that is the aspect that the Lai Mohammed speech has not really showed us.
What kind of obligation?
Yes. If, for instance, you tell somebody that he must abide by the outcome of a process, then at the same time, you are also implying that that process will meet the expectations of those who have signed the agreement. In other words, the party also has to conduct a credible primary.
Well, when you said we'll meet the it's a very dicey one when you say that the party must meet the expectations of the people who are contending for the position.
Yes.
But the thing is, the expectation is that each one of them will be a candidate. That is basically
the
what
expectation that I mean now is that the party will also conduct a credible primary. If they do, for instance, if they use the list of candidates, of delegates that everybody knows, that has been sanctioned by the various congresses, that will be abiding by the rules also in the case of the party. And if such things are done and everything is credible and fair, then the candidates who sign the bond are also expected to accept the outcome.
What about the issue of, doesn't it look as if they are being coerced? I mean, are you sure they were not coerced into signing that bond? What happens to the issue of freedom of choice? The willingness or the ability to move when you feel that you've been shortchanged on this side, move on to another side?
Well, none of them has told us that they have been coerced. So to that extent, I won't dwell on it. But I am saying that in the case of the party insisting that you people will abide by the outcome of this process, it follows that the process itself will be credible.
Does this tie in with the tenets of democracy?
Yes, it does. Because they are contested under the platform of the party. And because they are contested under the platform of the party has its own duties, its own powers to arrange a primary through which a candidate will emerge. That is the duty of the party, and the party is expected to do that.
Okay.
And in doing that, they can now tell the candidates what they expect them to do.
Let's leave signing of bonds to parallel primaries. I mean, we've had a series of parallel primaries. Sulaiman mentioned Enugu. Now, how would that play out? You were talking about the role of the party in conducting credible primaries. So how would that play out in having parallel primaries and supposed party officials at the two primaries?
Yeah, that is exactly what I am saying. That the party is expected to play its own role. In the case of Enugu, for instance, we had
and it's not just Enugu.
And it's not just Enugu. I heard it happened in Enugu. Of course, in Anambra, we have been seeing multiple winners of the same primary. In many of these cases, there are issues to be looked at. For instance, were the authentic delegates used to conduct the election? Are you getting it? If for any reason the list of the authentic list of delegates was not used, and somebody somewhere manufactured another list, maybe a day to the election, and then used it to declare himself a winner, then the party, is not expected to sanction such. And if they do, they won't expect that the candidates will sit down and accept it. I heard that is the case in Enugu, for instance. I am particular because I follow that, right from the time of the delegates elections, when the court sanctioned the list of delegates for the election. I understand that about a day or so to the primary, another list was brought, that meanwhile the other list, the other authentic list was still there.
This question of list of delegates, there's I understand there's an official list and there's what was that? There was something you called it. There's an official list of delegates, and then the expected list of delegates.
They manufactured the list.
So what's the difference? Like the situation in Lagos yesterday. I mean, they announced 806 entered. Then at the end of the voting, 867 or 873 or thereabout voted. How does that relate? Does it point to? Does it really have any effect in the elections generally?
Number one is that it points to fraud. 806 delegates cannot be there, and then the vote translates to 860. So, that shows immediately that there was some, other things that happened behind the table, Then, in the case of lists, the candidates going into election should have known the list of delegates, because each ward, each local government, each senatorial zone, they have already gone through the processes of producing delegates to the election. In normal cases, all the candidates are supposed to have this list, so that when you go on your campaigns to the wards, the delegates are supposed to, you are supposed to go and meet the delegates, talk with them, present your manifesto to them, and on the day of the election, based on all the presentations of the candidates, they will now make a choice. Then what is happening is that somebody goes, for instance, to the party secretariat a day to the election, gives out some favors, and then maybe the party secretariat now allows him to draw up his own list of delegates. And then on that day, the other candidates will come and discover that it is a totally new game. That the people they have met are no more the people who are going to decide their fate. And in such a case now, the other people who maybe feel that they have some advantage with the authentic list will now move out and conduct their own primary.
What scenarios have you found really interesting when you're looking at the primaries, the governorship primaries,
Yes.
National Assembly primaries, and even the ones between for the PDP and the APC? What scenarios have you found most interesting?
Scenarios in terms of
the states who have conducted primaries.
Well, some of the things that are interesting is the fact that in some of the states we are not seeing the people we expected to see.
For instance, in which state?
For instance, Rebadu coming up, the governor we know has been in the field trying to come back. But what we saw is different. Then you have mentioned some of the cases, some former ministers who resigned specifically for this for these nominations, and they failed that. We have also seen entirely new faces. We have seen governors who were not able to deliver their anointed people. We have also seen governors who were able to deliver their anointed people in spite of all odds. I think it is a very interesting development. For the main election, what has happened is at least in the PDP, will determine how they can now face the main opposition party.
For what you can see, I'm looking at the board and how everything is aligned in the upsets, the ones that went as planned and all. What would you rate the chances? How would you rate the chances of both the PDP and the APC at the elections, if you were to maybe put it on a percentage basis?
Yeah, I think that what has happened, what I can see is that the two parties are consolidating their advantages, but they're also coming up with a number of disadvantages. So that by the time we finish with this process, the party that ultimately wins will be the party that has been able to consolidate more of the advantages than the disadvantages. I expect that the party structure will now step in, to sort of harmonize what has happened, to make sure that fairness, obtains in the end. The party that is able to do that, for instance, where there are complaints, where there were multiple primaries, I expect that the party will sit down to look at the issues, as and then take a decision as to what should be the right position. The party that is able to do this, more than the other, will likely go into will obviously go into the...
You mean to reconcile warring
factions, especially on the basis of fairness, especially on the basis of law, especially on the basis of equal opportunity.
Yeah, but people will say that when you now have a situation where people have parallel primaries. That is a very dangerous situation. Oftentimes, these things end up in court, and it gets even more bitter.
Yeah, certainly. I expect that many of these cases will go to court. And I also expect that the court will follow the due process in deciding cases. I also expect that the parties will abide by the rulings of the courts on some of these matters. All these things will go in eventually, to determine how far a party will fare, at the general elections.
So as it is now, you think we'll have more litigations in the year?
Certainly. I expect that from today, many of these factions, many of these people who emerge from the parallel primaries will be heading to court to, insist on whatever reason made them even organize.
Would it be too late for some to jump ship, even though some have been asked to, sign an undertaking, especially in the APC?
I know that even the PDP is hoping that people don't jump ship. But then, it is in the nature of life that those who are not dissatisfied, we have to express their dissatisfaction. I mean, those who are not satisfied will express their dissatisfaction one way or the other. Some of them might jump ship, and I won't be surprised if they feel that they have been deprived of, what they legitimately think they should have. Some others may not even jump ship, and they will be there. But they could play some negative rules. That is why I'm saying that the scenario that is coming out of all this is very interesting. In the sense that which party is able to manage all the issues that are coming up better than the other, we have an advantage. You could be able to retain all your contestants, but maybe the majority of them are no more, they are still within the party, but they are not working for the party. In that case, it becomes a disadvantage, even though you still have the so-called numbers. But at the elections, some people within will be working for somebody outside. That is a disadvantage. But the party that ultimately is able to reconcile the factions, is able to do this on the basis of equity and fairness and justice, because that is important. When somebody now feels, for instance, that yes, he lost, but he lost on good grounds. The possibility of that person accepting defeat, accepting the loss will be much high.
Dr. Emmanuel Onah, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a moment now and we'll return shortly. Stay with us. Well, I close the moment now, and we have a couple of mails to take before we leave the studio. I guess, Marco, you have the first one there.
Well, this one is from Ijama. Well, it was a question she was trying to pose to the Minister of Aviation about why passengers arriving into the country on international flights at MMIA are forced to take buses and golf carts to drive all the way to the U-turn at the NACO facility before they can get to the car park. She says it exposes passengers to attacks by thieves and hoodlums, and it's very inconvenient. Why hasn't FAN built a car park directly opposite the arrival hall? What happened to the old car park? Can they pull down the incomplete structure in front of the airport to provide parking? These are some of the questions that unfortunately we couldn't ask the minister, but we do hope that subsequently they will be able to visit with the mails that were taken.
Well, anyway, I think we hope to pass these ones to the authorities, especially to Osita Chidoka, the Minister of Aviation, to give answers to those questions. But we'd like to say many thanks for being such a nice company as Aviation and Politics all the way. Tomorrow is another day. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
Well, thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun.
And I'm Noel Togo. Thank you to everyone that sent in comments. Have a great day.